Thank you to all you movie lovers and horror heads for tuning in to yet another episode of Delirium Hour. I hope you have your Ouija boards out because that's the only way you're going to be able to communicate with us for the remainder of the month. No, we are not dead. We are just ecstatic that October is finally here, officially ushering in the spooky times and all things frightening.
Ready for them spooks.
Oh yeah, been ready. And 2020 as a whole has been kind of scary, right? But at least now, at last, we can choose our own frights for our own enjoyment. So with that being said, today we are kicking off October by talking about horror. My name is Kent. I'm joined by my horror squad that I watch all my horror movies with. Introduce yourselves.
Hello, it's me, Baron.
Hey, it's Jonah.
So much enthusiasm, guys. I love that. But yes, like I said, today we're talking about horror, why you should love horror, why we love horror, and what makes a good horror flick even worth watching. What makes a good horror flick like impactful? Because we can go on and on about horror. We've been like horror nuts for like quite some time now. But I want to open up the floor and well, first of all, I want to say that us three, we've watched quite a lot of horror movies together over the past. Like you've been my go-to horror squad for like the last almost decade.
Yeah, I think every horror movie that came out, we'd always be like, "Oh, let's go watch it."
Yeah, it's always a good time watching in theaters too. It's a whole different experience.
It's a really fun experience. And like aside from even past the watching horror movies together, any kind of like movie news or like the new horror trailer, you guys are always the first one I text, or like you guys will be the first one to text me, like out of everyone that I know. So we've always been in that like horror community, and like it's a really fun.
I feel like that's kind of why we started Delirium Hour, because we all found like a connection in like movies and horror and all those other genres. But looking back, maybe what, like the last 10 years? Have we known each other for 10 years?
As long as I've known you guys.
Yeah. Like some of my favorite movie going experiences were like, I don't know, the one time we saw like The Woman in Black 2
in
theaters.
My goodness.
That was so fun.
Oh my goodness.
And then I remember we saw Evil Dead in theaters too, right?
No, I know we watched that right in my bedroom.
Did we? Oh man.
We watched that right in my bedroom. A hell of a good time. But okay, so with that out of the way, I wanted to open up the floor to like and ask you guys, why do you think people like horror? Like it's easy for us because all three of us, you know, we all love the horror genre, horror movies and everything. But like, why do you think horror is would be appealing? What's so alluring about it?
You know, I've never.
Goose is bumping.
Yeah, I guess your goose is bumping. Like I've always enjoyed horror as much as you guys, but I've never really thought about it. Like I just like it.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
We've always just been into this world. But I don't know. I've always been kind of scared of everything. So I don't know why I like horror movies. But maybe it kind of puts me in like a state where like I can control my fears.
I hear ya. Yeah.
That's a good point.
And I feel like because like you say like you're scared of everything, right? And what that tells me is you're just like there's a certain level of, I know this is a really weird word to say, but there's a certain weird level of sadism where you're continuously subjecting yourself to something that you know scares you, but there's some gratification from it. And I only say that because I feel the exact same way.
That's a good way to put it.
You know what I mean? Like, come on, it's like there's this level of like you're subjecting yourself to some dangers. Like you know that like the appeal is you know that you're safe. But it's like, come on, man, what are you doing? Why are you watching this stuff?
Yeah.
When you're in danger, like your body goes into like fight or flight, right?
Exactly. Okay.
But then when you're watching a movie, it's like in a controlled environment.
Yeah.
So then there's not really any real danger that's gonna hurt you because you know it's all fake. So in a way, your body like learns to have fun with it.
It's definitely fun. Yeah, it's definitely fun.
Like at Halloween Horror Nights, like it's a controlled environment, but then you go there to be scared, and you do it with the intention that it's gonna be fun because you know it's all fake and it's safe.
it's kind of like the closest thing to like putting yourself in actual danger, because you're like, not a lot of movies, like, you know, I know a lot of movies are pretty like intense, like action movies are really intense, but there's something about horror movies that like it's very one of a kind in the sense that it really evokes fear. I mean, that's the whole like point of it, right? So fear isn't something that gets tapped into by a lot of films. That's not like within the horror genre. So you go, when you watch a horror movie and everything, it's like the closest thing to putting yourself in this situation that is like bringing the fear out of you. But you do it because you know that it's like fake, or like you're reasonably safe and away from like the actual danger.
I think what's essential to horror movies is that there's an aspect of the unknown.
Yeah.
And with like other movies, like action movies and stuff, or like you're watching, but then, and you know it's fake, but I don't know. With a horror movie, you follow the character and you feel yourself in their shoes.
Yeah. There's for sure a huge level of immersion and everything.
Yeah.
That's like, I feel, again, like not all the movies, like their point is to, you know, like they want you to be immersed in the film, but like there's something about how horror films immerse you, or how you're immersed in a horror film, that's just kind of like cream of the crop. You know what I mean?
Well, it's funny that you said that, because it gets me thinking about like, well, we talked about fight or flight, right? I think a lot of horror films share the same trope of like survival. And if we're talking like across the genre, it's going to be like a maybe semi-big group in like the beginning. And then it always like gets whittled down to like maybe one or two sole survivors. And at that point, you're always like invested in their like happy ending, I guess. Like you want them to be able to walk out of that tunnel like alive and free at the end.
I hear
but it doesn't always happen. And it's I think that journey is what interests people, because you want to believe that people can go through situations like this and survive. Because if they can, then you can too, you know?
Yeah, no, I that's actually really fascinating, because it totally reminds me of something that I learned like a long time ago about like horror films, but how like in horror films, and you know, like obviously you have like the villain or like the antagonist, and you have the protagonist, sis, and so because you're in such a high stakes situation in a horror movie, you obviously feel very connected to these characters. So if and through that like connection and everything, you love to see the characters like prevail and everything, and that's definitely, I can totally see it. That's definitely an appeal, because like you're super rooting for these like protagonists and everything, and if anything, you're also rooting for the punishment of the villain, whether it be a monster or like a ghost or some home invader. Like you want them to see like defeated. Or other times you root for them too.
Yeah. No,
It's
very
true.
true.
Depends.
It's a really weird thing.
It's funny that you said that, because it makes me think about home invasion specifically. Like the way I kind of look at it, it's like normal people. You know, normal people stuck in like weird, outlandish situations. And one of like the best ones recently was like Don't Breathe.
Don't Breathe.
Don't Breathe
so
gets
good.
me thinking, because they do a really good job of like turning the tables in that one, like multiple times. You're just like, ooh.
They go into his house,
right? And on top of that too, you're like kind of rooting for him in the beginning. You're like, oh, it's this blind old man. Like, you're gonna rob a blind old man.
Oh,
and then later on, you know, he kills the guy, and you're like, wait, okay, something just happened. And then later on, you're like, wait, this guy's like a blind commando.
Yeah.
And then you root against him, and towards the end, you're just like, I kind of feel sad for him, but I'm also like, dude, you're kind of a dick.
That's really well done in that sense. Yeah, like
multiple tables turned in that movie.
And you know, another thing really easy to say about like the appeal of horror is that obviously there's a fascination with like things that kind of go bump in the night.
True.
Things that are dark. It's and there are a lot of subgenres of horror. So home invasion, let's say, right? For home invasion and true crime, it's a very realistic fear, because you're dealing with people. They're not supernatural in any way. These are real people, and sometimes real people
are scary.
Are real life monsters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's a horror in like how realistic a home invasion situation can be.
Yeah.
And that's the thrill, I guess.
Yeah,
That kind of ties into like serial killers too, honestly.
Yeah, all that, all
Yeah,
the true
definitely.
crime stuff.
Yeah.
After you get older, like monsters and stuff don't scare you as much, but like
Exactly.
more real life situations that's more possible to happen is scarier to
Exactly.
you.
Hey, I'll say this, man. I've one of my like most irrational fears, and it's not irrational because it totally could happen, but
Okay.
it's for like my home to be invaded. Like that is such a scary thing.
It's a scary thing.
It is such a
Yeah.
scary thing, and I know if that ever happens to me, my paranoid mind is gonna go straight to the strangers, you're next, and everything. I'm just
Yeah.
like, oh man, I'm gonna have to like finagle myself out of here. Like it's gonna be like a battle of like the brains to
Right.
get out of this
You
situation.
need to figure out an escape route from your house.
Exactly. I have
Like,
to.
Yeah.
no one knows except you.
Even you guys. Okay, if we're in the same house and that happens, you guys are totally on your own. Because I only know the way out, so I'm like, I'm going. I'm going.
But
Don't
you wouldn't
check
be the
the
type to
cellar.
like lock us in, right?
No, I help you, but if you turn on me, then like you guys are dead, dude.
I'm not gonna turn on you, but like just don't run out first and then lock the door behind you. Okay? I hate when
Nah,
people do that.
never. Well, where there's strength in numbers. You know, that's something we've
Yeah.
learned from horror movies. We have to stick together.
I feel like just metaphoric or not, hypothetically, right? If we were all stuck in the same house and we got invaded by one person, I think we could take him, right?
If it's don't breathe guy, there's no way, dude. I'm
I
dead.
mean, he's blind.
Did you see the
No,
movie?
we gotta
Yeah,
train.
but here's
We
the
gotta
thing,
train
though.
to be like him.
Okay.
you want to be blind? I
So
can make you
so
blind.
we have to
Jonah.
be blind, and we have to use sonar, like a
We
bat.
also have to be old. So,
Exactly.
well, the thing is
yeah.
too, they kind of, I think like the biggest turning point in the movie, or not biggest, but like they brought a gun right to the robbery,
Mhm.
and they were gonna use it on him. At that point, I'm like, you're kind of asking for it, bro. Like
Yeah.
if you bring a gun on top of that, like, and you can't use it, I think, I don't know.
Yeah.
You get shot, you get shot. But if we don't bring a gun to this home invasion thing, right, and we just use bats, I think we'll be okay.
Well, not
3
if
bats versus 1.
Not if they have a gun.
Kent knows Taekwondo.
Yeah, he-
Whatever, man. I'm just gonna like give him like the best warm up of my life. I'm like, get down, do 10 push-ups, and then do your front snap kicks.
Yeah, just do your forms, and he'll get scared.
So going back to a horror, what do you guys remember like a movie that really scared you when you were a kid? Like what's like what? Because like I will say this about me, right, really quick, is that like you, Jonah, I was a wuss, man. Like there was a big portion of my life where like my mom would always tell me or always like talk, you know, smack behind my back, to her like friends, like my son, so scared. He's so scared. Like I wouldn't go out if like the kitchen was dark and stuff. Like I was that scared. But then at a certain age, and I can't remember, but I got really into horror, and it was really weird because I was really scared of it prior. Did you guys have a movie like that where it kind of like really got you into it, or maybe one that just really freaked you out?
You know, I kind of have a similar journey to you because when I was a kid,
Yeah,
like when someone would be watching horror movies, I'd be so scared.
so scared.
Mm.
And then
Yeah.
like if you could ask my family, like they'd always say I'd be so scared of horror movies, and I'd be like
Yeah.
this watching the movie.
Dude,
But,
I was the exact same way. It's like
Yeah,
why
exactly. But
how,
like it's weird. Why do we love horror movies
like
now?
how did it become
Yeah.
like this? It's so weird.
I think it's a way for us to like it's a way for us to feel confident and like conquer our fears in a way. I don't
grew
know.
up
But
and
like
you
now
started coping.
it's just fun now.
It is fun now, and it's like, yeah, like it's weird to say that we were so afraid, and like look at us now, a couple of years in the future, and you're like, man, you were so into it, you know, like
Yeah.
you go out and you seek horror, and it's
Yeah.
like, well, what happened to have like made you this way? But you know,
Going back to your
Yeah.
question though, like
What's up?
a movie that scarred me and I still haven't seen, and I mentioned it before, is The Exorcist.
oh yeah,
Like one time,
Right.
someone was watching in the living room, and I just walked by, and it was the scene where she's like crawling down the stairs, and I was like, "What the heck?" And I ran to the bedroom. I was crying. I remember that specifically.
you were crying. Oh
Yeah,
man.
dude.
I bet it was like your dad
That
watching
movie
it, though.
hurt you.
Yeah, I was just scarred, and I've never seen it since.
Hey, you know what we're doing this Halloween, guys?
But we're watching that movie.
We're watching
Yeah,
Exorcist.
I'm
we're,
down.
We're conquering our fears. But The Exorcist is such a great classic movie. Like, yeah, like again, I mentioned it too, but all the pop scare games and everything, you always saw that everywhere.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen that movie in a long time. But it's
I've
insane.
never
to
watched it.
You never. All right, more
No,
reason
I
for
need
us
to, though.
all see it because you have to see it. It's one of those horror classics that's been like done over and over again in
Right.
different like forms. It's really fascinating to watch like these classics and everything.
Yeah, for a long time it was like the scariest movie ever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's so like notable
Until The Nun.
until
But me personally, though, I remember my journey into horror pretty vividly, too.
Oh, that's good.
One of the first couple experiences I had with horror, I was like probably a really little kid, right? And we'd always have like family parties, and like they'd always just be watching movies. So there was one point where I think they were watching Friday, I think it was the third one, or maybe the fourth one. Like I already had Jason. I don't think he's in the first two.
Hey, what shirt are you wearing?
Oh, that's funny.
Baron's wearing a Friday the 13th shirt, very festive.
Yeah.
He dressed up for the occasion.
What are you wearing, Kat?
I am wearing a Texas Chainsaw Massacre shirt.
Ooh.
Another
That's a
movie
really
that
good shirt.
really actually scared the bejesus out of me when I was younger. But
I remember,
to finish your story.
Oh,
wanna hear this.
What was it? It was like one of the Friday the 13th, right? I don't know why. Like I was watching part of the movie, I was like completely fine, right? There's like a point where like a dude gets like stuck onto a tree. And I was like, oh,
whoa.
cool. I guess that happens. And then there's a part where like I think he's like hiding in a car or something. But the scene that got me was for some reason it's someone's body getting thrown through a window. And I saw that, I was like, that's fucking disgusting. So I yacked. Like I went to the like, trash can, I yacked. And I was like, why am I throwing up because of this? And like I look back, and in the like the early years I wasn't a big fan of like gore. Now that like I understand it, like I'm okay with it. But I think back then when I was a kid I didn't really grasp like the concept of it's just like such a total like disrespect to someone. Not like how we talk about respect like on the streets or something, right? But disrespect meaning like that was like a human and then that human means nothing, so you threw that
Like-
human into a fucking window.
Like, how is that possible? Like, there's no disregard for
It's
that.
so
exactly,
human life.
yeah.
It's so
Right?
demeaning.
Like at that point
Yeah.
it's like this body is just like a toy. And I think when I kind of put that together in my head, I was like, that makes me want to vomit.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And that's
But-
pretty scary for like to have a human like do that to someone else.
Yeah, as a kid too, I was like, the world is evil.
Yeah.
You're like,
But
don't throw me into a window, please.
there was another movie that I remember vividly too. At
What's up?
another one of these family parties. And like I didn't yak in this one.
These
but,
family parties are lit.
No, it was probably like
I wish
I
was
don't
in
know,
these
dude.
parties, man.
But it was called All Souls Day, right?
I know that one. Yeah.
Do you? Do you
I know
it?
it. I'm not sure if I watched it, but I do know of it.
I know I mentioned it around you guys, but
Yeah.
that was probably one of my first scariest movies.
Mhm.
Looking back, like it's not that big of a deal, too. It's like just whatever's. I think it was like a straight to TV movie too.
Yeah.
But the opening scene really got me. It's without spoiling it, I mean, it's not like a movie anyone's really gonna want to watch, so I guess I'll spoil it. It's
Go
just a
ahead.
couple, right? And they're stranded. It's a whole stuck on a road trip kind of thing. Got to go to a motel that's right nearby, kind of trope.
Classic,
And
classic.
Classic.
they just get straight up murdered.
hmm
And I was like, yo, that's pretty fucking scary, dude.
You're like, nah, I'm
Yeah,
out.
that was
dude.
my
Yeah.
that was my first movie where I got stuck in this situation where I'm like, wow, this rooting for this
Yeah.
couple. They're
Yeah.
gonna lead me through this movie, and then
No.
boom, they're dead. I'm like,
Was it like
Yeah.
on Halloween or something?
what do you
So
mean?
it was like
Oh
on
yeah,
Thursday?
so it's like, long story short, the movie's about like this town that it's either they sacrifice or like they're like a cult or something. Like they do some weird stuff. I can't remember now, but it's really weird.
That is horrifying. I
don't
mean,
know how to
I
explain the movie.
I get what you mean though. Like when you're that young, you're just like impressionable. Like
Yeah.
you see, it's kind of your earliest exposure to like death. almost, and you're just like,
Right.
oh my goodness, like the world is not.
Yeah, dude,
There's a
happy-go-lucky.
reason, like, there's a reason these movies are like mostly rated R.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, they're not.
But
for
here's the thing too.
kids.
The reason why I got like kind of blindsided was because I didn't even know it was a horror movie. Like the movie started, I'm like, ooh, it's
you
a
got
movie.
jibbed.
And then yeah, so then I'm like, what, freaking 9 years old or something, probably, maybe even like younger.
yeah.
And I'm like, ooh, this is gonna be a cool movie, you know, this couple or something. And then boom, they die. I'm just like, wait,
You got
what's
punked,
going on?
dude. You know, I
Yeah,
hear
man.
that. That
Dude, that
reminds.
reminds me of the jump scare games.
Yeah,
Mhm.
dude, that was huge.
What were you gonna
back
say?
then? No, I was just gonna say that reminds me of like some movies that really like scarred me when I was a kid. Like I didn't really watch a lot of horror movies back then when I was a kid or really
Mhm.
young. I avoided them. Like I thought I was like, no way.
Right.
I'm like, I need this world to be happy. But I remember like, so I started watching horror movies around the whole 2000 horror like era. You
Mhm.
know, like titles like The Grudge, One Missed Call, Shudder,
Final Destination.
Final Destination. So all
Right.
those films. I remember I saw The Ring, and
Mhm.
when I first saw The Ring, it just shook my core so much. I think like I was watching with like a couple of friends from like elementary school or something. Like they were like, "Hey, let's watch it. It'll be fun." I'm like,
Mhm.
"Okay, man." So I'm on the couch, and they're trying their best to like make it funny for me. You know, like your homies. You know, they're
Yeah.
like making fun of the movie, but I was like, oh man, I'm not having it. I went home. I went home that night. I remember this. I don't remember much, but I remember this. I wouldn't watch TV for the whole next week because I didn't want to turn it on because I was
Oh,
scared. Like
dude.
I was scared
Back-
someone would
back-
come out.
Back in the day, when you like, I remember my TV. Like sometimes, like your TV just goes into like static mode.
The static mode,
sometimes, right?
dude. No, I'm like,
And
no,
you're
no,
like,
no.
oh, I don't even want to touch the TV to turn it
Yeah.
off.
Yeah, dude, that's bad news. I'm like, if a hand comes out, I am running away. I don't care if I'm leaving my family here. I'm out, dude.
Yeah.
But that's a movie that really freaked me out. The Grudge really freaked me out. One of the very first movies to really intrigue me though, and I think this is such a weird movie, but have you guys ever seen Jeepers Creepers?
Dude, I love.
No, I heard
Jeepers
about it,
Creepers.
though.
Jeepers
But
Creepers.
That
It
movie
was always
scared
on
me when I was
TV.
a
I
kid.
just never chose to watch
Yeah.
it.
That movie is really freaky, but it's like this monster movie, sort of, where like the supernatural like antagonist is like this 1,000-year-old creature that
Isn't
wakes
he
up.
called like the Creeper or something?
Yeah,
Or
the
what's
creeper,
The
and
Creeper.
he wakes up like every 45 years or whatever frequency, I don't care.
Yeah.
And he goes out and he eats like people, and whatever, like let's say his arm gets cut off, he'll eat like someone. He'll eat
And-
your arm, and he'll be able to grow an arm back.
Oh.
It's
Does he have to eat the whole arm up to the point where he lost it?
I don't know the details. I don't know if like
Oh.
it has to be like the same measurements of the same arm. I'm not sure, but that's what happened. And I just found like that was so intriguing. So like for the next couple of nights, I would just be on my phone, like I should be sleeping. School is tomorrow, and I'm
Right.
like reading about the creeper, getting
Ooh.
freaked out. But I'm like, I can't stop reading. This is
Dude,
so
I
interesting.
totally feel you on that.
Yeah.
You know
It's
know
like-
those nights, yeah.
After
Yeah,
like the
same.
spook, like you get over the spooks, it's a whole nother like fantasy world, but just
Exactly.
like a little bit darker, you know.
Yeah. And you're so into it. Like, there's a whole mythos to it. And it's like, you almost kind of nerd out a little bit. You're just like, I need to know everything to know about the creeper, his stats and everything. But, that really got me into horror. And, like, Halloween Horror Nights. I remember, like, there was an ad for one Halloween Horror Nights that was, like, Jason Voorhees versus Freddy versus Leatherface. Like they're like the three main
Ooh.
poster
Dang.
people.
Yeah.
It was so awesome. I was like, wow, legends. You know what I mean?
Yeah, legends, dude.
Legends,
Yeah.
and you just kind of like got so intrigued by like that world, and I kept reading into it, and I realized I'm like, I really like horror stuff, man. I'm like, I don't know if I should see a therapist or
Dude,
something.
you know-
But
That reminds me of a memory I have, like watching I don't know which one it was, but it was a movie with Freddy
Mhm.
Krueger, and then I was just like, how does he work? You know, what is his mythos?
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if I sleep tonight, will I see him? Like, am I gonna die?
That shout out one time to like how frightening the concept of Nightmare on Elm Street is. Like you're not
Yeah.
even safe when you're sleeping.
Yeah, you can't even
Yeah.
sleep.
Wes Craven, like
Like, how do you beat
oh
him?
my- that is so scary.
Yeah, he's a good monster.
He's a really
Yeah.
good one. and then like they made him all snappy and all funny and stuff. It just kind of like there's that like balance. Like he's really menacing, but he's kind of funny at the same time. You're like kind of like this guy.
Who are some other horror legends?
Myers.
You said Jason, right?
Yeah, Myers, Jason Voorhees, Leatherface. Chucky.
I mean,
Chucky.
Yeah.
Xenomorphs, I guess.
Yeah, they're like the sci-fi horror icons, I feel.
Yeah.
The aliens, the xenomorphs.
AVP.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah.
Who else?
Those are some pretty good ones.
Yeah. There are a lot. Like even like Ash from The Evil Dead is like a horror movie icon. He's not really the monster, he's the protagonist, but like he's very embedded into like the horror culture.
Right.
Mr. One Chainsaw over hands. You guys ever, first of all, you guys remember from Billy and Mandy? There's like a guy that's like really buffy.
Snap, they just clicked.
That
just clicked.
That's
Ash. That's
Ash.
crazy.
That's a rip off Ash. Yeah, I love that. By the way, it's so awesome.
Oh, Billy
Dude,
and Mandy
it's
was the best.
Billy and Mandy.
Yeah, Billy and Mandy. Billy and Mandy has some
and
good
Mandy.
ones, dude. Like they had their own pinhead, but it was like a bowling ball head.
Yeah.
Instead of like the little like cube thing, it was a Rubik's cube. I just loved like when they would tie in like real horror movie tropes, but this show is like for kids.
Yeah.
But like you don't know, and you get older, you're like, there's a lot of weird and like creepy stuff in Billy and Mandy.
That's like a Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was gonna say
That show gave me the creeps.
That show
man.
gave me the
yeah,
creeps.
dude. Oh man.
Okay, but so we talked. Yeah, what's up? Sorry, go ahead.
I wanted to say like you can't. I was really scared of like Japanese horror growing up too.
Oh my god.
But like there was a time when I wanted to revisit it and kind of see if like it still scared me, and it did. But
Spoiler, it did.
after that, like I kind of fell in love with how Japanese does their horror. Like they have their own style, and like they have their own perception of like the spiritual plane.
Yeah.
And then like since I recently watched Ju-on Origins, the series on Netflix, it made me really appreciate the original, and I really want to watch it again. Like
the original Ju-on?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's a movie that I've avoided my entire life. I am down to watch that movie this.
Same.
Alright, we're gonna watch
Yeah, I'm down to
Exorcist.
watch
We're gonna
this
watch Ju-on.
Let's watch it. Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of All Souls Day. We'll just turn off.
Screw it. Let's watch it. Let's do it.
Have you ever seen the original Ringu?
Ringu, I have seen like part of it, and I think again when I was exposed to the original Japanese version, I was still at like at that point I liked horror movies, but it still scared me. I think now I've grown like a certain like level of like a thick skin that I actually feel like I can tolerate certain stuff. So I feel like I can totally do it now. But at that time, I was like, okay, I'm getting pretty freaked out. like you said, Japanese horror or like Asian horror, I just think it's totally different. It's like it's totally with a totally different like cultural foundation. So it just freaks you out in a whole different level.
What I love about them too is that like they don't work so much on the jump scares. They work on like actually building a story around it and making a whole mystery out of it, you know?
Right.
And then they build an atmosphere of just like creepy, unsettlingness. Is that a word? But yeah, like and yeah, exactly.
No, I hear you. And you know, like that's awesome because like don't you guys agree that the older you get, jump scares don't do it for you anymore?
Not all of them. No.
Not all of them, you know? And it's kind of like once you've seen enough, and I feel like between the three of us, we have a lot of horror movies under our belt. You see enough of them, you almost seen all the jump scares. So that makes movies that don't really rely on jump scares that much better, or the movies that do rely on jump scares, if they do it in a original and refreshing way, then it's like effective. If it's not that, then
I can
the movie's
definitely
not scary.
say like the last original jump scare that I can remember that like was ingrained in my mind was probably Insidious 1.
Insidious?
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
I hear you, man.
At the dinner table?
Yeah, at the dinner table. The morning of. That was great because, like, I don't know. They've just never done that before. No one ever thought to do
I
it.
remember, too, that there wasn't any sound, right?
No. It was just a conversation. They're just having a conversation at the table. It's all bright. It's super, like, you know.
Yeah, it was subtle. You never expected
Right,
it.
yeah.
Dude,
But it was tasteful.
Yeah,
Very
tasteful is the perfect word that I would totally use, too. I think that movie is a perfect example of like jump scares done well, and I think it's like James Wan, man. Like he's awesome.
Yeah, James Wan's a legend.
He's a legend, and with Insidious, with Conjuring, and everything, I feel like he did this new thing that no one was doing at the time. I feel like now it's getting more common, but it's like the daytime scares, which at the time was very unheard of and very original and everything. And also like there were a lot of scenes where it's like you see the characters interacting, but in the background you see the specter or whatever walk by, like just and
that was dope.
all they're doing is just like having that person walk from one room to the other room, but that is so tasteful.
Yeah.
It's not in your face. It's not like coupled with some loud banging noise to kind of like make you like to cheaply make you jump out of your seat. It's like, you're like, oh my gosh, like it sends shivers down your spine.
Man,
really
but
like
eventually, I don't know if you want to transition yet into this next topic, but then the Nun, we get into territory of the Nun.
Oh no,
and then
that's
like
perfect.
all the scares we had in Insidious, like they just cranked it, like they try to do everything again. It's just like you're over at this point.
It's like even more than that with the Nun. Oh, spoiler. We all hate the Nun. If you guys didn't pick that up, it is a terrible movie. Oh my gosh. I want to tell you guys to maybe watch it so you can see how bad it is, but I know it's Halloween, but I don't want to subject you guys to any kind of like that kind of pain.
Yeah.
What sucks though is that we were so hyped for this movie.
I know.
We were like,
on
what
paper.
a good cast. There's Tysa in it.
Exactly.
And,
Valak was so dope.
Yeah. The funny thing is, before you're gonna like jump right into the Nun, I was gonna slowly, ease into it with talking about Valak in Insidious 2, right?
Conjuring
Insidious 2 was Valak? Or Conjuring 2, yeah.
Conjuring 2. Mm-hmm.
So Valak, those scares were pretty good actually. In the movie, they did what was it? It's like the background one, like the scene where like she actually comes out of the painting.
The painting
that was done really well.
Ooh, yeah.
But before she came out, they would always just have her like in the background, and not all the time. It wasn't like she was there. Sometimes it was just like the painting.
Yeah, oh man, I remember a scene specifically. Like you saw her down the hallway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
And like she's just standing there.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, that was
creeped me out.
He really like planned out like all the like positionary positions. Did I just say positionary positions? Okay, whatever. He really planned out all the positions for like Valak, and even if it's not Valak, it's like you said, the painting. Just like notes and glimpses of her, just to kind of like just keep that like eerie.
What sucks is that they couldn't
feeling.
capitalize on that with the Nun, like the actual movie, because I think owing it to like the universe, maybe it's because they already kind of did the best scares in Conjuring. Like, if they maybe tried something different, it would have been a more successful movie, I think. But, unfortunately, they just kind of went with the same genre, or not genre, but, like, generic, I don't even remember, like, anything significant about that movie. Like, not a single jump scare, like, got me. Not a single, like...
I don't remember anything.
Cool scene or anything. I don't know, dude.
Oh,
unfortunate.
I remember one thing. I remember how bad it was. But boom.
I think the one scene that they capitalized on in the trailer was it's like the underground scene or something. They have a lantern.
Yeah, they're like in the like the bottom floor and it's like all cement and everything. Yeah, okay.
Right.
Yeah,
but watching that scene in the actual movie, I thought it would be scarier. But it was basically the same scene from the trailer.
Because they promoted so much in the trailer and they just totally ruined it.
Exactly.
Yeah, but one more thing I want to say about the Nun, and we're gonna move on because it doesn't deserve our attention. But Jonah said you said that like Jonah and Baron, you guys said that like they just resorted back to that same thing. But I think more than that, it's that's all there was to the movie. It's like they're like, oh, we have these tactics, these James Wan Paddington tactics. It's like, okay, how about a story? It's like, no, but we have these tactics. That's it.
Yeah,
like we're
we
good.
don't need a story.
Like, how about the characters? I don't know, just tactics. Like that's all there was to the movie.
Yeah,
What's
that's why we get so much bad horror movies, because people think horror is just scaring you. No, it's there has to be a story too. There has to be an actual movie.
Right.
Exactly. Like that's a perfect segue into with horror movies. Okay, man. Like everyone has seen at least one. They're terrible ones, right? And I think it's one of those genres that are like so prone to terrible ones. And cuz like there's such a big saturation of horror movies sometimes, and not all of them are like good, and all the bad ones, they resort to the same tricks, the same cliche tropes, the mundane, really bland characters where you just don't care, they're just there to get killed. That's it.
Yeah.
You know? And or like jump scares that are just so downright stupid, where it's just a face and a really loud noise. I hate that the most. That is such a cop-out thing to do, where you're just like, let's play a loud noise, like, yo, you did not scare me. That sound just startled me. Okay.
Right.
Like, you play that sound for anyone.
It's very easy to see that with all of like the, I guess the common generic scares or like characters, movie monsters, things that you see within the horror genre. It's nice because within the last couple years, I'd say, or maybe even just like this last half decade, we've gotten like a lot of good, inventive movies in the horror genre that have really kind of redefined, what it means to be horror. But the cool thing is, too, before all of that, I think it was, Cabin in the Woods that kind of doubled down on, oh, you think you've seen a movie like this before? Nah, watch this. That was great. They did so much for the horror genre, and being kind of like a parody movie of horror, that was just so amazing for us to see.
Yeah, like movie, Cabin in the Woods kind of reminds me of, I pair Cabin in the Woods and Scream together, and they're not like on paper, they're not like the most similar movies, but I think what they did is there are two movies that are actually kind of like scary. I think they're really well crafted movies, but they almost poke fun at the horror genre. Right. And I just always thought that really like, again, pushed what horror can be, because it doesn't have to be pure fright.
No, it's funny that you mentioned Scream though, because I look at that as also like another horror milestone. Yes. Like Cabin in the Woods and Scream, both really good horror milestones.
Yeah, no, I would totally give it the milestone recognition for sure.
Well, that's what horror movies need. Like after a while, people get used to the scares, and you need something new and refreshing.
Exactly.
You do.
Like you look back way into like Psycho, like with Hitchcock.
Yeah.
Hitchcock, he was known for, I don't know if Psycho was his first real like horror movie. Was it?
It
was an early one though, because I know it came before The Crows. Actually, it's so hard. It's so like far back now. I can't.
I would fact check, but I don't really know. Yeah. But regardless, it's his like most notable one.
Right. But the reason why it was so successful is because he did something different.
Yeah.
Like he knew people were gonna go in like expecting something that they've already seen.
Yeah.
But nope.
Yeah, highly recommend that one. That one's a classic. Like for the sake of not spoiling it, we won't say. Let's not say anything. But yeah, like you said, you walk in, you think it's gonna be about this,
right?
It's gonna revolve around this person, let's say, and
that's why he's like the master of suspense, bro. Because it's all about the setup. Like if you set it up right, it's gonna be a good movie.
All right. I don't really know on the top of my head the worst horror movies, because I think for the most part, I try my best to forget about them. But what are some horror movies you don't like?
Dude,
was really bad?
There are so many. Okay, since you brought that up, Jonah and I watched a very recent horror movie that came out in theaters. And yes, I can see from the expression on Jonah's face, flashbacks are coming back. The Turning with Wolfhard. What's his first name? Finn Wolf. I'm like, what's his first name?
In that movie? Oh.
Yeah. Oh my god, I am so sad he was in that movie. It's kind of like Taissa Farmiga in like in The Nun. I'm like, oh man, I wish you didn't get that movie. But that movie was just there was just no. The story was so incoherently bad, and like it was trying. The only cool thing it had going for it was that it had this like cool gothic vibe to it, and I do like my gothic vibes. But aside from that, like. The big twist at the end was just there was no I don't know, it just didn't make you feel good.
It wasn't, I don't know, after that movie we were like they let anyone be directors.
Yes, that was the joke. Afterwards we were like yeah. Anyone could have made that movie. I'm telling you right now, Baron, I could have made that movie.
Yeah.
It was just so basically bad. In my opinion. Oh my goodness.
Like it wasn't even like so bad that you want to make fun of it. It was just it was a bad time. And
what you're talking about is Woman in Black 2. Bad.
Woman in Black. Well,
that movie was like, it was bad, but it was bad to the point where we were laughing our asses off because it was so funny.
But you know what? Here's the thing, though. When you watch a horror movie, like a lot of times they're kind of funny, and if you're with like the right person, it becomes like the biggest comedy ever, right? So Bear and I watched that movie, and that movie was like an amazing comedy. But like the turning was so bad you couldn't even laugh at it, like Jonas said, and that's the worst part. I'm like, then why am I here?
Yeah, I remember like the Nun. The Nun was so bad. We just like, when is this over?
Yeah, that was it was just a bad time, and it makes you sad.
It makes you sad. But talking about bad horror movies, we gotta go through all the bad ones. We gotta weed them out so we can have the good ones that truly impact you and leave like a bloody imprint on you. You know what I mean? So this is the perfect time for us to kind of talk about like some of our favorites and why are some of these movies that we're about to list, why do they stand out like from the rest and everything.
We mentioned Insidious earlier, and I gotta say that's one of my favorite horror movies.
Yeah,
and you gotta give it to James Wan. Because that was like masterly crafted, and it takes a good horror director and a good like writer to make a horror movie.
Right,
definitely.
Like The Conjuring also stands out to me. That one was, I mean, aside from the personal experience we had in the theater, it was great. That was probably like one of I want to say it's another milestone in horror.
It's a good one. Yeah. Everyone loves The Conjuring, where it's like very popular. Like, it's very popular. You know, like I want to make a comment about Conjuring, and I want to say Conjuring it's one of those movies. So Insidious and Conjuring, like you take those two movies, right? And I feel like what makes a good horror movie sometimes is that like obviously you want like originality. You know, like you don't want to rely on the same thing, same tropes. In the case of The Conjuring, I feel that I'm not saying it was like run of the mill, super basic. But it does fall to some certain tropes again. But in that case, they do it very, very well. It's like relying on old tropes, but kind of like executing it in a way that like it's just not.
It was very well executed.
It's just very, very well executed. And in Insidious, it's kind of like also it sets up as a very common trope thing, like haunted house, haunted family. But then it the further. Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's like, holy crap! Like it is so much more complex and deep.
And they did a really good job with the sequel too.
They did.
Like the sequel wasn't amazing, but I really liked how they've continued to explore the further.
It's a really interesting like story and world that they made with the Insidious verse, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think another good one that screams. Well, we haven't even talked about zombie movies. Like, I know we're all huge fans of zombie movies.
Yeah.
And the one that really set the tone for me was probably Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead. I was waiting for it.
That's a really good one.
That's a great one.
That was also Zach, right? Wasn't that Zach?
No, I don't think. No.
No? Who directed this movie?
Fact check. But then Dawn of the Dead. Yeah, Dawn of the Dead is such a good. So you know, we're talking about a horror. There's like
it was Zack freaking Snyder, dude.
No way.
Yeah, Zacky boy.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah,
but
such a good movie.
Yeah, like there are a lot of subgenres of horror, and in zombie movies, sometimes when you watch one zombie movie, you've seen them all. Dawn of the Dead is a remake of George Romero's Dawn of the Dead, but it is. I just felt like the way Zack Snyder approached it this time around. One, he very modernized it.
Yeah,
a lot, but it was just like sometimes horror movies don't have to just scare you; they can just be loads and loads of fun. Right, and Dawn of the Dead is so friggin' fun.
Man, that was Zach. I would have never guessed.
I would have never guessed that either.
It was him. I think it was the one he did before 300.
That's insane. I love that. That's awesome.
But no, like one thing that he did. I know he didn't like pioneer it, but when we're talking zombies, right? I think what scares me more is zombies that run. And in more recent years, you've seen that, right? But way back in like, George R. Romero's, you see walking zombies.
The slow creeper zombie.
And I'm like, that's still scary. But I'm like, how do you not outrun a walking zombie?
No, exactly. Yeah.
Like, yeah, you could get like pinned down or cornered. Oh, dude, it was written by James Gunn too.
That's
Dawn of the Dead.
amazing. This movie.
Yeah,
hey,
I did not know that.
We gotta watch this movie for
Right.
Halloween too.
Yeah. So many movies on our horror list this month.
Keep them coming. Keep them coming.
I said George R. Romero. It's George A. Romero.
Yeah, George A. Romero. But
George
yeah,
R. R. Martin.
Dawn of the Dead's awesome.
George R. R. Martin.
Since we're gonna talk zombie movies really quick, zombie movies are awesome because it's like you get to live out your own zombie apocalypse fantasy.
Right. Yeah.
And, you know, you watch
Except
those.
Resident Evil. Don't watch those.
Yeah, don't watch Resident Evil. Not good.
Well, we got the 2 new series coming out soon in Netflix. Hopefully
Yeah.
they'll redeem themselves. Yeah.
Another good one though is
yeah.
28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later. Those
That's
are two
on-
Ooh,
pretty
yeah,
good zombie
yeah, yeah.
movies.
that is on a lot of people's list.
Yeah.
I've actually never
Days
seen
and
it.
Weeks, they're so different though too, because they're telling
Are
two
they?
different stories, but like they're both really good.
Oh,
Super
man.
good,
I feel like I have to watch that. Did I ever tell you guys I've never seen it?
dude.
I know.
hell?
I know.
That because it's named 28 Days Later. That always reminds me of 30 Days of Night.
Yeah, that's
And
a good
it's,
one.
it's
too.
zombies. I mean, it's
No,
not
it's
zombies, but it's
vampires.
vampires,
Yeah.
which
In
is really
Alaska.
awesome. Yeah.
Oh, you know what's
Vampires in
funny,
Alaska.
too? This isn't horror, but Van Helsing, dude. Van
Heck
Helsing.
yeah.
It is in that
Big
horror
news.
genre. I
Yeah.
feel like Yeah, I know. Van Helsing with are talking about the Hugh Jackman
Hugh
one.
Jackman, yeah.
Oh hell yeah,
Dude.
man!
Hugh
You
Jackman.
need to watch that again.
Hugh Jackman was great in that movie, but here's the thing though.
Great.
I remember because they're both 2004 films, right?
Wow.
I was like, this is a good, good movie year.
Yeah,
Like we're
yeah.
doing pretty well if we got Dawn of the Dead and Van Helsing.
Helsing.
Come on.
I mean, that's also saying like Van Helsing did not do well while Dawn of the Dead.
No, it did well in my
did.
heart. All right.
Yeah, of course. So, like
Yeah.
I'm right here with you, man. Another favorite between the three of us that is on Netflix, accessible, is The Ritual.
Ooh,
And
heck
The
yeah.
Ritual is awesome because I think why I love that movie kind of ties in with why I kind of like love horror.
Mhm.
And when it comes horror fans, I think we all know that like you're just kind of fascinated with like the macabre and everything. And a lot of horror movies, they take influence or they take they pull from a source material.
Mhm.
And the stuff is always like across cultures and everything. And I think the Wendigo, which is like a Native American like deity
Mhm.
monster, it's featured in The Ritual and everything. Like it was really fascinating to see like a monster movie based on like a Wendigo. And
Yeah.
obviously after that, like you look up like I was.
Dude, I love the
looking up
mythos of the Wendigo.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
He's like a cannibalistic, like antlered creature that haunts the woods and just like eats people. And like other movies that kind of pull influences or pull from a source material is like another one that comes to mind is like Sinister.
Yeah, I was
Bagul.
about to say Bagul. Ooh.
Yeah, Bagul is based on like a pagan like deity that sacrifices children. It's just awesome because it's kind of like you get they're all hyperbolized like crazy.
Yeah.
But you get these excerpts from like dark tales from different cultures.
Right.
I found that really fascinating.
That's a good transition into what Hereditary with payment. Ooh, that was a game changer. Hereditary
pop.
is probably one of the biggest horror milestones that I can definitely say within the last decade. Hereditary, big freaking news for horror.
Yeah.
Man, that's one thing I don't like to do. Just specifically like the demons. I hate saying their names.
Yeah, I know you yelled at me when I kept saying payment. You're like, don't do it. He's gonna
Don't blame me when you see payment in your fucking ceiling tonight.
Dude, I'll just be like, what are you doing here, man? Get out of here.
But yeah.
Ari Aster with Hereditary, Midsummer.
Come on.
Yeah,
I'm really excited to see what he does next.
Right.
He's becoming.
But
such a
going back
big
to
name.
Sinister too, I don't think that movie's talked about enough. Like
I think
it wasn't
underrated.
amazing, but yeah, it's definitely
So
underrated
underrated.
because I would say when I watched it, I was really fascinated with how they decided to portray this. Like, there's a deity that has like this hold on kids,
Mhm.
right? And even like the way they presented like found footage. Me personally, I love found footage. It's not a big part of the movie, but it's some key scenes.
I do like how they
That was great.
implemented it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's-
Especially the
it's
first time he
underrated.
watches them, you're like, whoa, what's going on?
Sinister, I always say this. Sinister is a movie that really gives off like a sinister vibe. I know that sounds really like
Yeah.
lame and a cop out,
Right.
but man,
But
like,
I feel you. I feel
you know what I mean? Like when you
Yeah,
watch
I
it,
feel
you're
you
just
too.
like, there's like this sinister force that's always watching, and I think they did so friggin' well. I don't know why it's not talked about as much as like other movies. That's a good movie. I really enjoyed that one. But
dude, I'm surprised I didn't put this in like my list on that post you made on Instagram, like introducing ourselves.
Mhm.
But one of my favorite movies that I can really talk about, you might know it, is Cube.
Cube. Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Dude, I still need to watch that. I've been putting that off for years.
Spill it. This guy finds any opportunity to talk about Cube, and he just goes for it. All right, please.
If you haven't watched it, it's about this murdering Rubik's Cube.
basically.
Like chainsaws for sides. It's like,
Yeah. Everyone that solves it, it just explodes.
I want to give you the lowdown on one of my favorite movies. And it was directed by, I'm sorry, I'm not good with names, Baron better with names, but his name is Vincenzo Natali.
That sounds pretty good.
It's just a name. I'm not good at names.
I don't know, but it's a Canadian film.
Wow.
It's a psychological horror
I never knew
film.
it was Canadian.
Psychological sci-fi horror, and that's already like sounds so good to me. And it was made in like 97. But yeah, there are people stuck in a big giant cube. Maybe it's a Rubik's Cube. We don't know.
We don't know.
And each room is trying to kill them. And I think it's one of those movies, you love it or hate it, but it definitely has its own like cult following.
Yeah.
And I love the movie because what it says about like society and humanity.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to watch it to understand. But it's basically saying like, life is out of our control, and like as much as we try to control it, like there's always bad guys or like evil things that's in our way, that and sometimes the evil things is, and actually most of the time it's humans, not even like the outside forces upon us.
It's pretty deep.
Yeah.
It's like those
feel
people who were like in the cube, they were put there by obviously other people, right? Yeah.
But it's humans that are scariest. The humans are humans create their own downfall.
Yeah.
I
totally agree with that.
The funny thing is, like, I don't know, dude, that gets me thinking, bro. Like, we'd be so much better on Earth if we just like didn't care about material things and just like cared about each other. You know, like we're all here, we're all like brothers and sisters. Like, why are we fighting over things, dude?
No, man. One of these days, someone's just gonna make a giant cube and just put people inside.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, oh man, Jonah, you're living your dream. I'm living my nightmare.
Jonah's like, oh no, I love it, but oh no.
I was like, oh no, but oh yes.
Oh yes.
But you know, yeah. Oh yeah. I'm sorry. Go on.
There's not much more, but like there's like 2 other movies that they made. There was a sequel which was really, really bad. I don't recommend that
there
one
was a
at all.
sequel?
Yeah, it's called Cube Zero.
Cube Zero.
Oh no, it's called Hypercube.
Hypercube.
Whoa.
And then the prequel is called Cube Zero, but I recommend the
Whoa.
prequel.
All right.
Was good.
For
Yeah.
sure.
I didn't know
And
they
I
made
hear
a prequel
there's
and
a
a sequel.
There's a remake possibly in the works.
Ooh. Is it starring
But-
Tom Holland?
Yeah.
What?
I don't know, but I'll let you know if there's any news on that.
Cool.
Yeah.
But yeah,
The Cube is actually on, again, through my research and everything, it's on a lot of people's underrated list.
Yeah.
So one of these days, I'm going to have to, like, definitely watch it.
no, we watched it together.
I think, we I don't remember much about it.
Well, we'll watch it again.
Watch it again. But
I'm gonna watch it with you
we
guys.
recommend viewers to catch it too. It's definitely like a movie that's under the radar.
From what I've
That's-
heard about it, it's a lot of people talk about like the philosophical influence that it has.
Yeah, that's why I
Is
hear
that
about
true,
it,
Jonah?
too.
Yeah.
Well, he just gave us a philosophical
Yeah,
spiel.
but I mean that's his philosophy.
But there's a lot
You're
to
right.
take in from it. There's a
You're
lot
right,
to
you're
take in from it.
yeah.
I hear you.
But-
I was gonna talk about some other movies in the horror genre.
Please
like
do.
I said, found footage is great.
Mhm.
Cloverfield. I know it's not on everyone's list because of how it's filmed, but that one is a pretty big found footage film for me. Like,
I like Cloverfield.
yeah, it's just kind of hard visually for a lot of people to get into it, you know.
It is.
But that one and Donnie Darko. Donnie Darko isn't horror,
Oh,
but
yes.
Donnie Darko, it checks off all my boxes. dude.
Psychological thriller, like it's there. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fine. It totally counts, dude.
But if you haven't watched Donnie Darko, I would recommend watching the director's cut. It doesn't change much, but it definitely gives you more of an understanding to the movie and what's going on. I've tried watching both versions, but the theatrical just doesn't really make sense. I don't know.
Yeah, it's more ambiguous, the like theatrical cut, right, versus like the director's cut. And that's not to say like watching the director's cut, it's more like hand holding. It's just more scenes to supplement.
Exactly. Yeah. Very good way to put it.
I've only seen the theatrical, and then I remember just being left with a lot of questions. Yeah. But I really liked it because then that movie left me such an impression. And just thinking about everything. I don't know.
That's a good one. I like Donnie Darko a lot too. Yeah. You know, for me, I think again, like this is a pretty standard answer, but like one of my favorites is like The Shining, and I really like Silence of the Lambs. The reason why I like those two a lot is because not only because like everyone says that they're good. It's not that I've seen them, I do like them, but I think they are kind of like in that they're not pure supernatural. Like one's more true crime, one does have supernatural elements, but it's like not really like in your face, but it's just very well crafted. And I want to say that like horror I think goes hand in hand with a lot of emotion. I think like they're like opposite ends of the spectrum, right? And obviously when you're in a high stakes situation, a lot of emotion is surfaced between the characters, between the viewers, and like the plot line and everything. And like the way those movies kind of make you feel psychologically, I really like applaud, I guess. And and you know what, we mentioned Hereditary. Hereditary is like one of my favorites now, and it's seriously so good. And that movie is it's not jump scares either, you know. And because we were talking about that, and it is just the entire time you are so friggin' tense. Your anxiety is just like skyrocketing all the time because you're just watching this family break apart and everything. And
it's funny that you said
I like that movie.
Well, it's definitely not jump scares because the way they did this movie, Ari decided to keep the camera on like for longer.
Yeah.
And instead of making something like just pop out at you, he makes you stare at it, and that's what kind of changed the game.
Mm-hmm.
He makes you stare at it for like 4 seconds.
It's so innovative. Like it's awesome. And we're talking about innovation, just really quick. Other movies that I think are amazing that just aren't downright in your face scary. It Follows is a great horror movie.
Ooh, yes.
Because it's back to that tense feeling again. It's very much of a slow burn. And what's funny is the fun story about It Follows is that it's one of the very first movies, that and Babadook, that really introduced me to the appeal of slow burn horror. And I was just like, okay, this is very slow paced.
Yeah.
But the entire time it just keeps you thinking.
Right.
And you're seeing like these characters like just like lose it and everything, and that is terrifying like on its own.
This one isn't slow burn, but because you're talking about those two movies, I think another good one that came out in around the same time was Lights Out. Do you guys remember that movie? Ooh, Lights Out was really good.
That one's great. Yeah. Like even if it didn't scare you, it's just so loads of fun.
Yeah.
You know?
Super fun.
I love that movie too.
Man, It Follows, I just want to say sexually transmitted disease. I mean, haunting.
Sexually transmitted hauntings. Like, how innovative is that? You know, like real quick spiel about the premise. You know, there's a haunting. You have intercourse with someone, and you pass over the haunting to that person. Then at that point, the person has a choice whether to pass it on to someone else or get killed. And you get killed, like this entity follows you around, but it can be in any shape, any person. You never know. It doesn't matter if it's dark. It doesn't matter if it's daytime. You never know who's like coming after you. Could be like the lunch lady. I think legit. There's a scene where the lunch lady walks and is following her.
Yeah.
And it sounds silly, but it's so unnerving, and it's so good.
Man, I want to shout out, like, I think we're coming to the end of our podcast here, but I want to shout out Stephen King. He's not he's not a horror movie guy, but all his stuff gets made into horror movies.
Yeah.
And not all of them are great, but I think for the most part, I enjoy the stories like that. They translate, at least.
Yeah. He's the master of horror for a reason, for sure.
I think a couple other good directors that have made a pretty big impact in the genre would be like Eli Roth and Rob Zombie. They're not
Rob
talked
Zombie.
about enough.
Yeah.
Well, also because they haven't really been in the game recently, I think.
Yeah.
It's been a while since we've seen them, but both pretty good, prominent horror directors too.
Yeah, and I also want to add Mike Flanagan.
He's a good one
Yeah,
too.
Mike
He's
Flanagan.
really good. Haunting of Bly Manor.
He's been working. He's been working on horror.
He has
Right.
been working. I think he's becoming such a big name in horror. And I
Right.
really love to see it. And
What's great is because like we've had a lot of directors kind of not back away, but just take a break. I guess we've had a bunch of really good directors like step in and like fill their shoes.
yeah, I love to see
Ari
that.
too. Ari is, dude. He's like the new kid on the block, and he's doing so well.
Like I want to mention Jordan Peele too. Like I didn't
Yeah.
love Us,
Ooh.
but I love what he's doing. I love what Jordan Peele is
Yeah.
doing, and he's doing like Candyman next, right?
Yeah, he's taking
That
on a
should be cool.
classic.
Man.
So
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting.
I want to say too. I don't know if he's like a prominent horror director, but Guillermo del Toro.
He's like
He always
gothic
deals with like the
horror.
paranormal.
Yeah.
Gothic horror.
But like one of my favorite movies from him, besides Pacific Rim,
Rim.
is
Crimson Peak?
Crimson Peak.
Crimson Peak. I haven't watched that one. I heard it's so good.
I feel like you'd really love that one, Ken, because
I
it's like
actually finally got around to watching that, and I love that movie.
Oof.
And really quick side note, and it kind of goes into why I love horror. Like gothic horror is a lot of the time combines themes of beauty and horror, obviously. But it's kind of like it's within this specific genre where you get like movie monsters or movie antagonists that are very humanized. You get like Dracula, Frankenstein. Frankenstein is a pretty tragic character, in a lot of like stories, and I love that duality and that juxtaposition between like this guy's a monster, but it's like did he ask to be a monster? There's that duality, and I like that. I think it's so profound and everything. And Crimson Peak, it definitely ticks the box for like gothic horror. It's like not scary, but it's like a horror themes, but it's really beautiful.
Yeah.
And I love that. It's so good. So I think we should be nearing the end of our talk for today. That has been our discussion regarding horror and everything. Does anyone have any concluding thoughts?
It's hard to think of all the horror movies we love because there's so many, but
Yeah.
I'm sure throughout this month we'll be giving you some more.
We'll be back.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
We're
If you haven't
celebrating.
like seen or maybe had any interest in horror, now's a good time to get in
yeah.
because you have just so much readily available to you. And big companies like Netflix and Hulu are putting out their own stuff that we've seen recently, and they're all
They're not half bad.
semi
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Well, some of
There's
them
a
are
couple-
trash. Some of them are good.
Couple bangers, but a couple like you can skip over.
Make
But-
sure you're following us on Instagram because we'll give you some movie recommendations.
Oh, yeah.
Hey.
Coming up
look
real
that
soon.
up. Yeah. Going to what you said, Baron, one last time. Like you should get into horror. One of my concluding thoughts about horror is that horror is so multifaceted. Everyone isn't scared by the same thing. So you just have to kind of find a movie that maybe you want to be scared, or maybe you don't want to be scared, but there's something for you out there, you just kind of you just have to look around. Like there's something that attacks like different, I guess like themes and topics, whether it be psychological family issues or home invasion or like possession. Maybe you're really scared of possession. Like I'm really scared of like gory movies. It's not really a scaring thing. It's more of like I'm very disgusted by it. So I don't really like watching gory movies.
I think it's natural.
Exactly. But some people love
You'd
it.
be surprised. Yeah, some people love
Some people
Hostel.
love it.
I actually love Saw.
I know you do. No, but I like Saw to a certain extent too. But
Yeah.
like with that being said, like there is something for everyone. So you just gotta go out and see what you would be into and everything. So those have been our concluding thoughts. Thank you for tuning in to Delirium Hour. Please follow us at Instagram.com @IsDeliriumHour for all your movie news, spotlights of movie scenes. We'll do like a bunch of different content, movie recommendations. We'll be pumping them in this entire month. And you can catch us on Spotify or YouTube. Same as always. Please consider liking, commenting, subscribing. That would really help. And I guess that is it. Happy October, everyone. We will see you really, really soon.
Peace out.
Bye, guys.